Right. She's live.
Hey everyone, come on in. Come on in. Welcome to week two, New Year's challenge. We'll be talking about nutrition. We're gonna give people a couple minutes to make their way in, but in the meanwhile, do me a favor, blow up this comment section. Let me know how you're doing with your goals. Let me know how week one was. Let me know how you're feeling. Getting in for some workouts or doing things differently. Yeah, throw a little wave. Jordan, Karina, hello. Good to have you all in here. Zach, hi Zach. I know Zach got at least one good workout in. Him and I took class over at Highland Park, courtesy of Coach Suze. I don't want to say that between the two of them they gave me the business, but they certainly didn't give me the business. You know what I mean? Let's get this bread. That's the kind of energy I need at every single check-in. Always that. I want some mo. I want some mo. Well, I mean, Duncan, carbs aren't the enemy. That's all right. We can keep. We'll talk about that. That's actually the entire theme of this entire lecture, is to get or not to get this bread. That is the question. Britt, hello. Violet, hello. I'm breaking heels. Dang, I hope you don't pay a lot for him. Maribel, what's up? Paula, hello. Rach, Stevie. Let's get this bread. Case, what's up? Think you can sneak in here without me seeing you? Hello. Thanks for being here. Fun's always expected with Sue. Zach, you're right on. You're right on. So we'll take, again, just about another minute or two. Let folks continue to mosey their way on in here. I'm joined, as always, my fearless partner in crime, Sammy, behind the scenes, behind the cam. And if you have any questions, throw them out here. You can see I'm armed with my own piece of technology. Sammy's ready to go to help me out. Could I have sounded any more like a dad there? I'm armed with the apple. I've got an apple. I've got the MyPad, so I'm good to go. You can read your questions. Rock and rolling. There she is. There she is. Look at all this Sammy love. Sammy, you want to lead this over here? You're clearly the star of the show. You're clearly the star of the show.
I was going to say a joke. Konnor's even on the internet right now, you guys. It's crazy.
I am on the interwebs right now at this moment. Can I Google myself and find this video right now? I love it. I love it. All right, cool. Well, we want some more folks trickling in. To be mindful of your time and to get through my lecture-ish, talk at you-ish, impart knowledge to you-ish portion of the evening. We're gonna dive right in. We're gonna get started, and then we'll certainly have some time at the end for some Q&A. I know nutrition is always a hotbed for folks, so I want to leave plenty of time to address questions that you have, whether they be generally about nutrition or maybe some specifics for you, and I'll do my best to answer them to the best of my ability. Okay, so again, thank you all so very much for being here. I hope week one has gone well. I hope week one has been a roaring success for you. I have loved seeing all of you who have felt vulnerable and who've been willing to share your goals in the Facebook group. Thank you so very much for doing that. Again, always with these kinds of challenges, it's community that makes it special, and excuse me, to get to see our community come together and thrive like that, at risk of using all the dad cliches in one webinar, it just does my heart good. So thank you so very much for doing that, and please continue to do so. Right, just because we're not talking about goals doesn't mean we can't continue to share them and celebrate them and see them change. So thanks for doing that. Week two, nutrition. Here we go. I would guess for the vast majority of folks who are signed up for this challenge, in some way, shape, or form, nutrition was a very big part of the decision to enroll in the challenge itself. You talk to people who diet, who are interested in some kind of body composition change, who are looking to get healthier, nutrition is inevitably an integral part of that process. So much so that from what I've read and from what I've heard and from what I've seen, I would go so far as to say that when you think about health and wellness, and when you think about performance inside and outside of the gym, I would argue that call it an uncommonly held belief that it is in fact 80% nutrition and 20% training. 80% nutrition to 20% training, which for a lot of people feels like a ratio that is all sorts of out of balance, but it really, really is the truth. My whole health and wellness journey got turned completely upside down when a few years ago I heard from the man, the myth, the legend himself, Tyler Quinn. He said, quote, "You can't out-train a bad diet," and it has resonated with me ever since and really changed how I approach not only my training inside the gym, but my health and wellness moreover. And I've really come to appreciate a lot about nutrition, and while it is a very, very intricate science, there's a lot that goes on when it comes to nutrition and figuring out what and why and when and how to put things into your body. We are going to attempt to scratch the surface here tonight. I'm going to give you some high-level information that hopefully we can take with us moving forward into this week. Give you a little bit of homework to close things off, and then we'll get into the week to come. Okay? So, generally speaking, when it comes to nutrition, I would contend that there are two major elements to be aware of and to the best of your ability to control. Those being quantity and quality. So I'm going to start talking about quantity piece of this equation, right? And in order to talk about quantity, that being how much food you are consuming, I believe that it's relevant to introduce to you, if you are not already familiar with these, which I believe many of you likely are, the three macronutrients that compose all food and beverages that are comprised of some sort of caloric load, that have some sort of calorie to them. Those macronutrients are protein, carbohydrates, and fats. Protein, carbohydrates, and fats. Now, super, super high level overview of what those three things are responsible for. First of all, protein, responsible for muscle tissue growth and repair, general strength and expediting recovery, meaning you'll recover more quickly with more protein in your system, and also really helps out a lot with satiation is the word I'm looking for there. Basically means if you eat more protein, you're going to stay fuller for longer than if you ate the same amount of calories worth of carbohydrates or you ate the same amount of calories worth of fats. Right? So protein's super, super important for wellness and particularly for all of us in our training and as athletes. Protein is a big time important macronutrient. Next up on the list, in order that I introduce them, carbohydrates, everybody's favorite. Everybody's favorite. In fact, I believe the original title of this webinar was a reference to one of the great quotes of many of our eras from Mean Girls itself. Is butter a carb? To which I would say, no, it is not. It is not. Butter's fat, but maybe we'll get there eventually. So carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are your body's primary fuel source. They're your body's primary fuel source. And basically what you need to know about carbohydrates is when you consume carbohydrate, regardless of how it shows up, whether it's just sugar or it's broccoli or it's sweet potatoes or it's maple syrup or you name it, whatever form of carbohydrate, it is broken down into your body as glucose. And it is that glucose that is then used as energy, as fuel. It fuels your workouts, particularly the kinds of workouts that we do here at Alchemy. These relatively shorter duration. Now, don't get me wrong, I know that sometimes 20 minutes feels like a lifetime, or if anybody did today's workout, 30 seconds felt like a lifetime. Hello, shoot-throughs and side plank holds. But I mean, relative to any and all forms of fitness, right? You compare 20 minutes worth of an Alchemy peak intensity portion of an Alchemy workout to a marathon run, or to ultra marathon efforts, or to a half marathon, or these longer endurance events. It is a relatively short period of time, and so during those duration workouts, it is carbohydrate that your body uses as its primary fuel source. And then when you are consuming carbohydrate, anything that your body does not use, any excess carbohydrate, is then stored. That glucose is stored in your body as body fat, as a reserve fuel, effectively, for future reference and for future use. That is where the stigma around don't eat carbs, carbs are the enemy, comes from. The reason I bring this up is not to drill that home for you even further. The reason that I bring this up is because I need you to understand that while technically, scientifically speaking, that is true, excess carbohydrate that is not used as energy, that glucose that is not used, is stored in your body as body fat. That does not mean that carbohydrates aren't important. And it does not mean that you should cut out all carbohydrates from your diet starting yesterday, right? We use them to fuel our workouts. It's our body's primary fuel source. There is absolutely an importance to carbohydrates, right? And we're gonna talk a little bit more about that a little bit later on. Lastly, we have fats. We have fats, which for a stretch of time before carbs got vilified, fats were vilified. It was all skim milk this and fat-free that. Here's what you need to know before I get into anything else about fat. Dietary fat is different than body fat. Dietary fat is different than body fat, right? And then when it comes to your dietary fat, there are three forms of fat that you should be aware of here. First is trans fat. That's the kind of fat that you should be cutting out of your diet, out of your intake, as much as possible. That comes from a lot of really hyper-processed foods, really, really not great for your body. Next, we have saturated fats, which in certain doses from certain food sources can be good for you. It's just when eaten in a lot of excess do we have to start to worry about potential health risks. And then lastly are your unsaturated fats. Those are your omega-3s. When you hear people talk about quote-unquote healthy fats, people are eating lots of avocados and nuts and olive oil and avocado oil and coconut oil and salmon and red meat, fatty red meat. Those can be sources of healthy fats, and those omega-3s are really, really important for hormonal regulation. They do help out with some satiation as well, not to the extent that protein does, but it can be helpful there, as well as just like general regulation of your bodily systems. Okay, so there is a super high level overview of your three macronutrients. We've got protein, carbohydrates, and fats. So that's what they are, right? And it's choosing the quantities of those things that will then dictate obviously the quantity that you are consuming over the course of the day. Now you might be finding yourself asking, great, that's awesome information, Konnor. What do I do with it? And what I would tell you is the short answer is it depends. And it's going to be a little bit different for everybody. However, what I would contend is there are some general guidelines passed down by the USDA that I like to try to steer people towards, if nothing else, as a starting point when it comes to how much of these different macronutrients to be consuming on a daily basis as ratios of your overall daily intake. Okay, starting with protein. What I believe personally, anecdotally, and from just reading evidence and studies and literature, is the most under-eaten macronutrient of the three. I believe that you should be eating somewhere between 0.7 and 1.0 grams of protein per pound of lean body mass. Now, how you calculate all of that is a little bit more intricate than we're going to get into right here and now. If you are interested in learning more about that, you can absolutely go online. There are some awesome calorie calculators to help you figure out how much roughly should I be eating over the course of the day. If you have a general sense of your body fat, you can then calculate what your lean mass percentage is based on your overall weight versus your body fat percentage. And then you can figure out how much protein should I be consuming during any given day. And we're going to talk even more accessible ways of measuring that protein intake here in just a little bit. Okay. Next up, then, from a consume this every day, make sure you get it in. It's really healthy for you, and it's bad if you don't standpoint. Fats are essential. Fats are essential. In fact, carbohydrates technically are the only non-essential macronutrient. You could get by without consuming any carbohydrate. If anyone's familiar with the keto diet, where you're in a state of ketosis, that is effectively the idea. Your body's got all sorts of fancy systems to make sure you still get energy. Again, now's not the time or the place, but if you're interested, you can absolutely do some more research on that, or ask on the Facebook page, ask me directly. I'll provide information for you as I can. Okay, so fats. You should be looking to consume roughly 30% of your daily calories from fats. Again, prioritizing unsaturated and saturated fats first and foremost, avoiding trans fats as much as you can. And then lastly, generally speaking, unless you're making tweaks to your protein intake and your fat intake, the rest of your calories can come from carbohydrates. Okay, now, again, you might be asking the question, awesome, that's at least a bit more information. Still doesn't really seem the most practical in execution. What do I do with this to help me be successful on a daily basis? My answer to that is hang tight. We'll talk about it once we get through quality, okay? But speaking of, let's dive right into that. We've got quantity spoken to, right? We talked about our macronutrients, talked about generally how much to be eating over the course of the day. Quality is also really important, right? If I told you to eat 40% protein, 30% carbohydrate, and 30% fat, you could do that in theory if you wanted to with chicken wings and nachos and like ranch dressing, right? Probably not the healthiest diet in the history of diets, right? So really, really high level approach to quality of foods is, if you can, pick it from the ground, pick it from a tree, or kill it with a stick. You probably shouldn't be eating a whole lot of it. The reason for that is if you can pull it from the ground, it was grown in the earth. It came from the earth. Those are fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, things that are going to go bad if you don't eat them, as opposed to things that can sit in boxes and on shelves for an extended stretch of time, and then you can still open them and enjoy them, days, weeks, months, in some cases years later. In fact, tangential fun story for you. A buddy of mine in high school lost a bet to one of our teachers because they opened a Twinkie. They opened a Twinkie and they put it on the windowsill inside the classroom, and they bet would or would not be moldy at the end of the school year. It had no visual change whatsoever. So it's foods like that, probably not the kind of thing that you want to be putting in your body on a regular basis, right? So, and that's using those three criteria: pick it from the ground, pick it from a tree, or can kill it with a stick. I mean, it came from a live animal, right? usually a pretty good way to determine will it or will it not expire. Therefore, is it or is it not filled with vitamins and minerals and these micronutrients that are going to help my body operate at its highest level, and therefore a good metric to use to put things, to know what to put into your system. Another great way to think about it, which is that 3 is helpful, but there's a lot of crazy marketing that exists out there. It's healthy this and keto that and low carb this and low cal that and no sugar this, and you name it, it's out there. When in doubt, here's another great approach for you. When you are at the grocery store, shop around the perimeter of the grocery store, and to the absolute best of your ability, for certainly the foods you're eating a majority of the time, stay out of the aisles. Stay out of the aisles. Now, there's a reason for this. When grocery stores are set up, their loading docks, where they're getting in the new foods as they're being delivered to the store, are on, of course, the perimeter of the store. So therefore, their foods that are most likely or are going to expire most quickly need to be on the perimeter so they can be most easily swapped in and out. However, the more processed food sources, your bars, your chips, your snacks, your crackers, you name it, that can sit in boxes, sit in packaging and be fine and good to go for, again, weeks, months, sometimes years on end, those can all go in the middle of the store because they don't have to worry about getting into there as frequently, right? So generally speaking, if you search and you shop from the perimeter of the grocery store, that's where you're gonna see a lot of your fresh produce. That's where you're gonna see a lot of your fresh meat. That's where you're gonna see a lot of your, again, those foods that fall into those criteria of from the ground, from the tree, from earth, generally as foods to try to be eating more often than not, okay? So there's super, super high level quality, right? Now, a couple of important caveats to this before I get into not only our homework, our adult homework for the week, but also into Q&A. I've been trying to be really intentional as I go through this discussion to make sure that I'm not saying absolutely eat this or absolutely don't eat that, right? We talked about it a little bit week 1 about how this isn't built to be an elimination diet where I'm saying don't eat this and only eat this and eat this at this exact time. The truth is these things work in different ways for different people, okay? These are guidelines that I'm passing on to you, but in truth, if one person might thrive on a higher carbohydrate diet and one person might not. One person might choose to eat animal products and one person might not. There is so much variation here. And the good news is we know that variation can work. It can work, right? Think about how many diets there are out in the world, right? There is a traditional kind of like bodybuilding diet, which is super low fat, relatively a higher carb. There's keto, which is almost the polar opposite, super, super low carb. There have been studies done that individuals ate literally nothing but rice, nothing but carbohydrates, and they lost weight. There's so much variation in different diets that you will see out there. And in truth, the reason for that is because every single diet boils down to calories in versus calories out. If you consume less energy in the form of calories over the course of a day than you expend through working out, through walking around, through fidgeting, through your body's just natural processes as it works over the course of the day, then you are going to lose weight. If the caloric deficit is greater, then you are going to lose weight more rapidly. Now, I'm not saying go out and only eat 200 calories a day. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I am a believer you should be eating in the event that your goal is weight loss, you should be eating as many calories as possible while still losing weight. Because ultimately, again, you're gonna hear me talk about this over and over again, this is about sustainability. This is about sustainability. I don't want you to lose 15 pounds in 30 days and then your body attacks you from the inside out and you put on 17 pounds over the next 31 days thereafter, right? It's about creating sustainable lifestyle and habits to ensure that you can be successful moving forward, okay? Now, to that end, our homework for this week to help create some sustainable habits that we can rely on and we can turn to for the next 3 weeks of the challenge and long after it's done are 2 pieces of homework for you. One, as it relates to quantity. My call to action for you is to try 5 times over the course of this week putting together meals using a hand measurement system. Hand measurement system. And here is what that is. Generally speaking, your palm is equivalent to 1 serving of protein. Generally speaking, your clenched fist is equivalent to 1 serving of vegetables. Generally speaking, a cupped handful is equivalent to 1 serving of more starchy carbohydrates. And generally speaking, your thumb is equivalent to 1 serving worth of fat. Again, high level stuff here, general guidelines, anywhere from 1 to 2, maybe 2 to 3 servings of each of those things. So 1 to 2 palms, 1 to 2 fists of vegetables, 1 to 2 cupped handfuls, 1 to 2 thumbs comprise a meal. And that's gonna be a little bit different based on you, your goals, your body type, your body composition right now. Lots of factors that go into that. If you want more information on it, reach out to me, ask in the Facebook page. I'll send along some of my favorite links and resources for you. Okay, but generally, that's what you gotta know. My challenge to you is 5 meals over the course of this week to use that hand measurement system to compose those meals, right? So there's your homework for quantity. Now, for quality, my challenge to you is at least one meal every day of this week. I want you to try to challenge yourself to put together using whole, unprocessed, nutrient-dense food. Actual food. Stuff that comes from the perimeter of the grocery store. Stuff that doesn't have an ingredient list because it is the ingredient. Putting together these awesome, nutritious, filling meals, at least 1 meal per day over the course of this next week, which is an excellent segue and a perfect reminder for me before we turn to Q&A here to close things out. Wednesday evening at 6:30, Sammy, confirmation? 6:30, Megan Sheely, somebody we're partnering up with, her and Coach Alex are going to be actually live from Coach Alex's kitchen, putting on a Zoom cooking class where they're gonna take you through a really fantastic, super healthy, nutritious recipe that Megan is going to walk you through step by step. You can get signed up for that. There's a link to that in the Facebook page. I don't want to spoil.
Instagram.
Or on Instagram. You can go to either of those, so either the Facebook page or on Instagram. I don't want to spoil exactly what the meal is. You'll have to go and find out for yourself. But Wednesday at 6:30, you can definitely go get signed up for that and trust that you're going to be in great hands with Megan and with Alex. Okay, so there's a lot of my rambling and attempting to scratch the surface in a serviceable way to you around nutrition. Now, I will admit, I've not taken a peek at the comment section here in a little bit. So, if you have questions, please do send them along right now. I know we're flirting right on our 30-minute time. If you're willing to stick around, I am too. Let's see if we can help out here a little bit. Sorry, I'm just scrolling along here, making sure I didn't miss anything. Christy, love to hear success with water intake. That's awesome. Sammy, I gotta stop shouting you out. Gotta stop shouting you out. Okay, best ideas for sources of protein other than meat and fish. So, Karina, that's a really excellent question. And the truth, so there's a couple of different ways to approach this. I'll try to keep things. I try not to get too far into the weeds. First of all, technically, here I am on the heels of talking about all of this. Eat as much food as you possibly can. Technically, absolutely yes, this is a processed source. However, the most abundant protein source out there is protein powder. Protein powder, right? So if in the event you're just someone who you're just in a pinch, you want to increase your protein intake and you can't stand eating another chicken breast or another fillet of tilapia or salmon or cod or what have you, protein powder is a great choice. There are lots of different kinds of protein powder. When in doubt, I would recommend a whey protein. It has a dairy base. There are, however, non-dairy alternatives out there. There are plant-based proteins. There's, pea protein. There's hemp-based protein even. There's lots of options out there for you. It's just a really dense, easy protein source. Now, besides that, if you are not opposed to consuming dairy, things like Greek yogurt, ideally non-flavored Greek yogurt, cottage cheese is an extremely protein-dense source. Things like meat alternatives like tofu or tempeh are great options as well. If you're open to it, eggs are truly a complete source of protein. What I mean when I say that is they've got all of the essential amino acids that your body doesn't naturally produce. So they're a really great protein source. If you're looking for just give me all of the protein, egg whites are going to be a great choice for that. Cheese, frankly, has a good amount of protein to it, depending on the kind of cheese that you are getting. Other dairy products of the like. All great options to turn to. Otherwise, you can absolutely get into, depending on, you gotta be, a little bit careful because they're technically more carbohydrate than they are protein. But again, if you're just looking for alternative sources, things like beans, different kinds of beans can be a great source for that. Quinoa, like edamame, things like that have protein in them. And that's, if anything, if there's a pitfall with the hand measurement system, it's that it's rare that you're gonna find a food that's just a protein or just a carbohydrate or just a fat. Cheese is, we think about it as a fat, but in truth, it's got protein in it. So I hope that's helpful. Sorry,
about the labels
trying to go.
on protein powder?
Sorry, say again?
The labels on protein powder, anything to look for, watch outs?
So question is labels on protein powder, anything to be aware of? Not really, no. There are some, the brand that we've always carried in studio has been SFH. It's a super, super clean source. Some of my favorites, PE Science is one of my favorite protein powders personally. It's a whey casein blend, so it's a little bit thicker than just a whey. But honestly, at risk of always equating price tag to quality of source, if you walk into, you go to a vitamin shop or a place like that where you'll be able to get supplements, if you're getting 72 servings for $30, odds are pretty good it's not the highest quality protein in the whole wide world. However, if you're, hovering around the like 150-ish, $1.50-ish, per serving, generally speaking, that's going to put you in a pretty good place to ensure some level of quality around the protein powder, for sure. Almonds are a great snack, absolutely. Okay, so many proteins. Okay, that's what you're getting to. Nice, love it. Best ideas for good fats. I eat probably 1.5 to 2 avocados a day. Those are my go-to. I also love salmon. If you're not against seafood, Otherwise, nuts and seeds, almonds, actually right here, that somebody just threw out. A great recommendation also. Just be mindful that those are really easy to overeat on, and when it comes to the quantity standpoint of things, yeah, healthy fats are good for you, and that doesn't mean that those calories don't mean anything either. And in fact, here's another nutritional fun fact for you. 1 gram of protein is 4 calories. 1 gram of carbohydrate is 4 calories. 1 gram of fat is 9 calories. So not all grams are created equal when it comes to that kind of stuff. So just be mindful of that. Otherwise, you can also always cook with olive oil or avocado oil or coconut oil. Butter has been often vilified as like, don't eat butter, it's a bad thing. Ghee is awesome for a non-dairy substitute, or go out and get some, I think it's Kerrygold is the name of the brand. It's grass-fed butter. Good for you. It's good for you. It's good for you. It's good for you. Promise. Let's see. What else we got in here? You generally try to stick to lean meats, carbs, veggies, and fruits. Is it okay to cheat a few times as the weekend as a reward? Holy goodness gracious me, am I glad that this question got asked. Yes. The answer to that is yes. And in fact, what I'm gonna tell you is, Frank, you already are kind of on it already here with the nature of how the question was phrased with cheat in air quotes. Here's what I'm gonna tell you. You're never gonna get it perfect. You're never gonna get it perfect. In fact, I would tell you, you don't want to get it perfect, right? Go, do me a favor, when we get done here, go online and look up pictures of professional bodybuilders when they're stepping on stage. And you're gonna see men and women and all sorts of human beings alike who are at, in the case of men, that's the percentages that I'm most familiar with, like sub 3% body fat. What they are doing is effectively torturing their body. Ask any of them and they will say, I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy, right? The idea is to find a balance, and the idea is to find a balance that works for you. So what I'm going to encourage each and every one of you who is watching now and who may ever see this is to really think critically about what your goals are, why your goals are what they are, and how you can help bring those goals to life, balancing not only physiological health, the state of your body, but with that, psychological health, making sure that everything up here doesn't suffer because of what you're trying to change down here, right? The point is not to be, or the goal, I would argue, is not to be the person at the birthday party while everyone else is enjoying a slice of cake who is off in the corner counting out almonds in their pocket to ration for their consumption throughout the day. Right? The point is to be able to live your life in a sustainable way that moves you towards your goals, whatever those things are. Along the way, you gotta tend not just to your body, but also to your mind, right? If there's one last point here that I'll make before wrapping this up and calling it a night, is this. All of this exists on a spectrum. It's not good versus bad. Instead, I would encourage you to think about it as better versus worse. And if you can just be consistently towards better while allocating as intentionally as possible for worse or more towards worse on the spectrum, then good things are gonna happen. Like anything else, we're looking for sustainability, and consistency will be key. You're not gonna get your dream body by eating one perfect meal. Similarly, you are not going to become cripplingly overweight by eating one imperfect meal. It's what you do consistently that will lead you towards your results, for better or for worse. Our job, our goal, and my hope for you is that we put together your diet and your lifestyle and your habits in such a way that we consistently lean towards better, we indulge and appreciate opportunities, we move maybe farther along the indulgence end of the spectrum, But on the whole, we keep you moving in the healthiest and happiest direction possible. All right, so thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Thank you very much for tuning into the webinar tonight. It really does mean the world to have you all here with me and with all of us here for the challenge. As a reminder, your homework for this week, 5 meals over the course of the week using a hand measurement system just to try it, if nothing else, to see if it works for you. Because, I mean, you'll certainly, wherever you go, you'll always have your hand, right? And then also 1 meal per day being put together using whole, unprocessed, nutrient-dense foods. And if you are looking for recipes, again, as a reminder, Wednesday, 6:30 with Megan Sheely and Coach Alex. Link for that is on the Facebook page and the Instagram. And also, make sure to hop on Prescribed Nutrition. If you're not already rock and rolling with them, you get 3 months of free access to their platform, and they've got all sorts of awesome recipes on there that are not only going to fit the quality piece of our homework, but also you can make work with our quantity piece as well. All right, thank you all so very much for being here. I apologize for going a little bit over. You can tell I'm pretty passionate about this stuff. It's easy to get rambling. So if you have any questions, please do reach out, Facebook, Instagram, to Alchemy or to myself directly. I'm here for you. We are here for each other. And let's keep rocking and rolling as we go into week 2. All right, thank you so very much. Have a great rest of your night. Take care.